the KOVA Blackthorn all steel axe. You guys have seen the first impressions video. Let's start this thing out back here at 100 feet. Let me show you how to throw an axe and curve it. Let me show you what this thing can do. Let's get into it. Hope I was the first in showing you how you should throw a KOVA Blackthorn. What's up, guys? It's Wes, the Suburban Viking. I am Midgard Axe. KOVA Blackthorn, part 2. If you haven't seen the initial impressions video, go back and check that out, and then come back and watch this one. What a great flyer, guys. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go over the actual axe. Bit quality, handle, all that. And then after we cover that, I'm going to get into how well this thing performed as an actual throwing axe. Okay, guys, starting with the knob. Like I told you in the first impressions video, I was a little concerned about this hanging up on my hand. I didn't get any hang up. Maybe it's the design in which it slopes down like this so it releases out of my hand cleanly. I didn't have any issues with it at all. It was something that was in the back of my mind when I was throwing it, like, you know, let's see if this thing's going to hang up. It didn't. Would I keep it on there? Yeah, it wasn't an issue. And as you guys saw in the video, I actually stuck the knob into the target, which was really cool. I also was able to tie a rope on the end, and you guys may have seen that a long time ago in another video, but I can use a rope on an axe, sling it around, throw it. I was able to do that with this thing, which was really cool. That back bit did help with some of those rope swings into the target. So yeah, this thing is really cool. It did hold up. I didn't have anything happen to it. It's still intact. Even with it sticking to the target, the finish actually held up on it too, which was really cool. These G10 grip panels, guys, are really nice. I will give them props on that. Like I told you before in the first impressions video, they took the time to round these over. So man, it feels really good in the hand. It really does. I will tell you guys that the panels did loosen up, similar to the CRKT Jenny Wren. However, I'll tell you why this is better than the CRKT Jenny Wren. The CRKT Jenny Wren had rivets holding the grip panels on. These have double-sided screws that thread into one another, so I was able to just tighten these back up. It was really simple. And what I did was I took them out and put blue Loctite on them and tightened them back up. They never came loose again. So I will say that I do like the ability to be able to remove these G10 grip panels really easily. If they were to break or if you needed to tighten them back up, it's really simple. Also too, if you needed to reorder some of these grip panels, it would be really easy to just get some and put them back on and tighten them back up and keep throwing. So that is awesome, and I really enjoy the way that they put these screws in here and how it all mates up together. It's very seamless. You don't feel the steel ferrule in your hand. It is poking out a little, but you really don't feel it. These G10 grip panels kind of poke out a little bit, giving you a nice feel in the hand, and it just feels seamless out of the hand. So I do enjoy these grip panels. They're really nice. They held up. I did beat the hell out of this thing. The handle was beat the hell up. No chips, no gouges. They didn't break. They just held, guys. And of course, guys, the steel ferrule that runs inside the G10 grip panels, it goes down to the knob, still straight. I've got nothing going on with it, so it held up very well. Like I told you guys in the first impressions video, the bit did have a really hard point. So I went in with my 250 grit whetstone and reprofiled the edge. I was able to do it with a 250 grit whetstone. I didn't even need to use a file. So I did get the degree that I wanted with a 250 grit whetstone, and then went back with the 1000 grit side and finished sharpening it up. This thing got really sharp. It did take some time with the 250 grit to reprofile the edge. However, when I went to go sharpen it, it sharpened up pretty effortlessly and it got really sharp, okay? The edge retention on this is really good. It's not as sharp as it was when I first sharpened it, but it held its edge nicely and it didn't cause for any alarms when I went to go check it after throwing it for 2.5 days. It's about as dull as every other axe that I would expect after 2.5 days of throwing. So, guys, it still has an edge on it. I could still take it outside and throw it right now. So the edge quality is really good. Did a little bit of a bit test. I didn't get it on camera. Sorry, I'll do it next time. I drooped my steel chain across my target, okay? And I threw the axe at it. And the bit hit the steel chain. Show you guys. See it right here at the toe? See how there's a little chip in the bit right there? You guys can see that? Okay, the cool thing about this, I've done this before to test other bits. And usually the chip that I get will be the same circumference as the actual chain link. This one isn't. It's smaller. And if you notice too, it doesn't go very deep back towards the axe head. There has been some tempered edge axes that I've used where when I've done that test, the chip runs really far into the axe head too. That guys, it's very minimal. So I will give them props on that. I mean, throwing this into a steel chain held up very well, and it hit pretty hard. I will say that the steel chain did have a backing of wood, so it probably did give it some, give to it when it hit, but not bad at all. I will tell you guys that sharpening the front bit was very easy. This one up top took a little bit more effort. It was the cheeks on it up here a little fatter, and this one back here, the cheeks are really fat. So you have to spend a lot of time to get this sharp, but I would suggest doing so because then you kind of have a bit everywhere, front, top, back, and your spike, which is really nice. And as you guys saw, I was throwing this thing backwards, getting spike hits, and I did, when I threw the rope on the bottom of this and was slinging around, I used the spike. It stuck really hard, really deep, had no issues. So all in all, it performed almost exactly how I would want a throwing axe to perform as far as quality goes. All steel axe, held up very nice. The handle's nice, the bits are nice. No sagging of the ferrule left or right or bends or anything like that, guys. It just held up. It's all steel axe. This thing's a freaking tank. So let's get into my actual throwing experience with this hatchet. Okay, so let's address the first thing. You guys probably noticed this finger got deleted, meaning I was not able to use it for about 3/4 of the throwing video that you just watched. I had to basically stick my finger out like this and throw it. Okay, I'll tell you guys what happened to my finger in another video. I was choreographing something and I had some outside interference. I'll get into it into another video. What I'm saying is that even with my finger stuck out, throwing not how I usually throw, I was still able to tear up with this thing. Okay, so you're probably wondering, Wes, what about this design? Because I made a big deal about it in the first impressions video. I said I wasn't sure about how this thing was designed, if it was going to be good for axe throwing because of how it swoops in. As you guys know, the handle sticks out farther than the actual bit does. So you're probably wondering, Wes, how well did it fly? Okay, so I'll just get into it. Guys, I didn't really concern myself with it. It wasn't something that I thought about. I just threw it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this thing. I'm not going to baby it. I'm not going to have to adjust my throw. I wasn't going to do that. If you're going to use this for axe throwing, you shouldn't have to adjust your throw. You should be able to throw it like you do with every other axe, and it should stick. It did. And I didn't have any issues sticking it. It worked out really well. Now, I will tell you guys the best way to stick it is with a little bit of an over rotation. You have this like knife edge right here going into the target. And when it hits, guys, it goes in deep and it takes some force to pull out of the target, okay? So I didn't have any issues with it. It flew very well. It stuck very well that way. However, I will tell you guys that if you try to stick the entire bit into the target, what's going to happen is that one or two things are going to happen. You're going to get a knob strike, and the tip of the axe right here is going to sink in, which is what you would do if you over rotated it. Or if you try to stick the entire bit into the target and it doesn't get a knob strike, or it's barely a knob strike happens and it sticks in, if you get this whole thing to stick, it's just not going to go very far into the target. It's going to go probably to about like right in this area here. It did stick. It wasn't like it bounced off. I got a clean stick. It went into the target. It just wasn't as deep as a strike this way, or if the handle had been straight and the bit went fully in, it didn't go as deep, but it still stuck. I didn't have any issues with it bouncing off or bouncing back or not wanting to go in. I did get knob strikes, and I told you guys from the beginning, if you throw this thing, you're going to get knob strikes. But I will tell you guys that I didn't have any roll, meaning if you guys work with a pole heavy axe and you're throwing a pole heavy axe, sometimes what can happen is when you get a knob strike, it'll roll on you and your bit won't sink into the target. And I've said that before, which is why I like bit heavy axes. When you get that knob strike, it still wants to fly true and go into the target. Even with a knob strike, guys, it's still sunk into the target. I didn't get any roll. So all in all, not bad. The design was a little worrisome. I was worried about it, but it ended up holding up and it flew very well. As you guys saw, I took that thing all the way back to 100 feet. I was running with it. I did 4, 5, 6 rotations, went back to 100 feet. I want to say, correct me, I could be wrong, guys. I want to say that's either 7 or 8 rotations at 100 feet. So this thing flew very well. It did very well. The bit went in the target really deep. It was just a really good flying axe. And this design really didn't hinder me at all. The only con that I can find in this thing, which is what I normally find in all steel axes, is the weight and the handle. All of your weight is going to be in this handle, which means if you watch the slow-mo videos at the beginning of the video, when you throw this thing, you're going to get wobble. It's going to happen. All the weight is in the handle. It's in your hand. So when you go to release it, it's hard to try to not get this thing wobbling in the air. You can do it, but if you throw it enough, you'll start getting wobble. But I will tell you guys this, as you saw, when I went back for distance, even though it was wobbling, I still got a clean stick into the axe. Some axes that I've used before that are handle heavy, when you go back for distance and you throw it, it wobbles so much that by the time it gets to the target, the bit is way off. This one, even though it wobbled, it was a controlled wobble, if that makes sense. So it wasn't getting out of hand as it rotated more and more through the air. So I was able to go back for distance and throw it and stick it. And it was a great flyer for distance. A little bit of wobble, but it stayed true and it hit hard. Great little throwing axe, guys. Great axe. I'm not entirely done with this hatchet yet. I'm going to keep it and throw it some more. I want to work with the sheath. I want to do some tactile removal of the hatchet out of the sheath and throw. So look for that in some future videos because I'm going to work with this thing hard. I'm going to try and see if I can get the wobble out of this thing when I go to throw it. Now, if I have to make some minor modifications to it, I will, but I'm going to see and I'm going to test and I'm going to keep throwing it and see if I can get distance throws without wobbling. And if I can, I'll tell you guys about it. But I'm interested to see how well that sheath works. Great sheath. I just haven't worked with it yet. And that's something I want to do in the future is work with the sheath on this thing, taking it out, doing some really cool, pull outs of the sheath, doing some different throws right out of the sheath with it, seeing how well it comes out. That's going to be a future video. Now, for some of the impatient people out there that don't want to wait months and months and months for me to test the sheath and test this thing and come back and give you a final opinion on it, you might be asking, Wes, would you buy it now? I would. I think this thing performed a little better than the CRKT Jenny Wren. As I told you guys before, the CRKT Jenny Wren is about $20-some more than this. This thing is a little bit heavier, so it's going to hit a little harder. But all in all, it feels almost exactly the same, just bigger. And I actually do like this a little bit more than the CRKT Jenny Wren because of the grip panels. I think these things are really innovative, and I think that they worked out really well for this thing. I think almost, I'm just going to say it, the G10 grip panels on this thing almost made this axe. It really did. Had it had the same grips as the CRKT Jenny Wren, I don't think I would like it as much. So I really do put a lot of praise into these G10 grip panels, guys. It feels really good in the hand. It really does. So if you had to go get it right now, I would say I think you'd be fine getting it right now. I really do. As long as you get something in same quality as the one that I got, this thing is awesome, guys. And you can throw it for distance. You can throw it up close. It hits hard. It sinks deep. And like I said before, even with the design, you're still going to get a strike. Even if you get a little bit of a knob strike or if you don't over-rotate it enough, it's still going to go in and hit and stick. So it just won't go deep, as deep as you stuck it like this. But all in all, it's a cool little throwing axe. And I give KOVA a lot of props for the innovative design on this thing. Thanks, KOVA. I really do appreciate the opportunity to review this hatchet. I had a great time with it, and I hope to work with you guys in the future. This thing was just really awesome, guys. However, I'm not going to say that it's the greatest thing ever just yet because I want to keep working with it, and I'm going to work with it over months and months and months, and then I'll come back and give you guys my final opinion on it. I've got about 150 to 200 throws with it over about 2.5 days. So if that gives you any information at all, few hours each day throwing hard, throwing for distance. And the only thing that happened to this thing, guys, was these screws here loosened up a little bit, which blew Loctite, tightened it up, fixed it. So I don't know what to tell you other than that. Let me get into it some more. Let me give some more work under it, and then I'll give you my full honest opinion. But so far, if you had to get it, I'd say go for it. But if you want to wait, just wait. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some cool stuff. Show you guys some really cool stuff with the sheath. Show you guys how you can kind of manage that sheath on your back or maybe on your shoulder or on your hip. I'll show you guys some cool stuff you can do with that sheath. So come back and watch those. But I appreciate all your support. Hope you guys had a really good time watching the beginning of the video. I threw some really cool music in there and really had a good time with this thing, even with the finger all messed up, guys. It really irritated me that it happened, and I just got mad, and I was like, you know what, boom, and I started throwing this thing hard. So hope you enjoyed the video. Come back and watch future videos. If you're not subscribed to me, subscribe to me. I do all kinds of cool stuff. So come back and watch some future videos. Come back and watch when I take this thing out and do some really cool sheath work with it. But until next time, guys, see ya. I will tell you guys, I had a really fun time throwing this thing. It was just a hell of a lot of fun. As you guys saw, I took that thing back. Man, I took that thing back, and I saw it curved. I'll have to get a better angle of that curve from the target perspective in. I've got a couple videos. We'll do a video on it later, but from the perspective of the target looking at me, you can see it curve in. But man, this thing was fun to throw. I really did have a good time with it, guys. I think it's totally worth at least checking out on your end. If it's something that you might be interested in, if you're looking for an all steel axe, you definitely put it in your arsenal. I think it's worth the money. I do. I think so far from what I see, it's totally worth the money. So, you know, I think you'd be okay pulling the trigger on it. But man, I had a great time with this thing. I can't wait to fix this bit right here and go back out and throw it again. I'm going to do some really cool dynamic throwing with it again and, you know, test everything on it. But man, this thing was fun. It was just fun. I had a good time with it, if you couldn't tell. That's why there's so many throwing videos at the beginning of this video. That's why I took this thing out and went crazy with it, guys. I got crazy with it. I was bam, bam. I didn't even realize how many shots I had until I went to go edit, and I saw how many videos I had shot of throwing this thing. I actually had to delete some because I couldn't fit it all in this video. It'd be too long. So, but yeah, just a great little hatchet. Had a lot of fun with it. I think you'd be good with it. If anything, it'd be fun to throw. Innovative design. Bring you something different. It will bring you something different than your normal hatchets and axes that you may throw right now. And that's what I'm all about, guys. Changing things up. Going outside the box of norm. Doing something different that maybe works a little better. Tell you what, guys, when you over-rotate this thing just a hair and sticks like this, good gracious, that thing goes and it just sticks in there. And it hits hard, too. So check it out. I think you'd be good with it.